355.6%. That is one stock's gain today, and the company behind it has no product, no revenue, and no operating business at all. 3 things this video resolves. Why a blank check shell closed at $58, why the Dow more than doubled the S&P's gain, and what a 56 composite reading does to the growth debate. The S&P 500 closed at 7,674.10, up 0.43%. The Nasdaq composite finished at 26,180.45, also up 0.43%. Identical gains, which tells you this was not a technology-led tape. The Dow Jones Industrial Average did the actual work at 53,277.01, up 0.98%, more than double the other two. Volatility got sold. The VIX fell 5.5% to 15.13. Inside the Nasdaq, breadth was rotational rather than narrow. Consumer cyclical led, up 0.73%. Consumer defensive up 0.69%. Communication services up 0.63%. Basic materials up 0.35%. Energy was the only sector in the red, down 0.65%. CNN's Fear and Greed Index reads 55. Technically greed, but the shallow end of it. $58. That is where RF Acquisition Corp II closed, a gain of $45.27, or 355.6%, on the Nasdaq. The catalyst, per the only piece of news on the tape, was a set of SEC filings, not earnings, not a product, not a signed customer. This is a special purpose acquisition company, a shell whose entire asset base is cash in trust. When a shell's public float shrinks after redemptions, a small amount of buying can move the price hundreds of % without any change in intrinsic value. The move is real. The business is not. Anyone buying at $58 is paying a triple-digit premium to trust value on the hope that a deal gets announced. 102.6%. That is Werewolf Therapeutics, closing at 87 cents. Here, the why is concrete and documented. A merger agreement with Ambros Therapeutics announced at 8 a.m. Eastern, alongside a concurrent, oversubscribed private placement of $150 million. That is the number that matters. A pre-revenue biotech trading under $1 does not raise $150 million in an oversubscribed book unless institutional money has already underwritten the combined pipeline. Compare that to the shell. Same direction, opposite quality. One doubled because capital committed. The other quadrupled because paperwork appeared. 56.0. That is the S&P Global Composite PMI for August, against an estimate of 53.2 and a prior of 54.5. Services drove it, 56.8 actual versus 54.0 expected. Manufacturing went the other way at 53.2, missing 53.9 and slipping from the prior. So the American economy is accelerating on the services side and cooling on the factory side. That split explains the tape. The Dow's cyclical, domestic-facing constituents outperformed, energy lagged, and the VIX sank because a hot services print removes recession risk from the near-term equation. It also removes urgency from the rate cut case. $7,591,515. That is Director Ravi Gupta selling 150,000 shares of Instacart on August 19th in a single transaction, one block, no staggering. At Liquidia, Director Catherine Rayleigh-Gauvin sold $4,087,000 across 2 transactions on August 20th. Ranger Energy's chief executive, Stuart Bodden, sold 95,000 shares for $1,630,000. No cluster buys anywhere in the data. The insider tape is one-directional selling. In Congress, Representative Steve Cohen bought J.P. Morgan between $100,000 and $250,000 on August 5th. And note, Representative Shri Thanadar's Apple sale, transacted January 9th, disclosed August 14th. That is a 217-day lag on a 6-figure trade. 0. That is the number of United States earnings reports on today's calendar, and the forward calendar is entirely offshore. Indonesia's PGAS on the 27th, Lukoil and Rosneft on the 28th. Translation. For the next week, macro data and analyst revisions set the tone, not company results. On that front, Benchmark reiterated, buy on NVIDIA with a $335 price target against a $214.95 price, 56% implied upside. Reddit noticed, NVIDIA mentions jumped 73.2% to 123. Monday brings the Chicago Fed National Activity Index for July. Estimate 0.10 versus a prior of negative 0.02. Watch whether it confirms today's services strength. Second, watch energy, the only red sector today and the one most exposed if manufacturing keeps sliding. Today's theme, quality of catalyst decided everything. Subscribe for daily market data.